Yeah, blackjack. Life is like the game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah, blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
What's up? What's up? I got a special guest today, but I don't want to introduce him. I want him to introduce himself. He goes by the name of his artist name is Five Faces. But introduce yourself, brother. Tell the people who you are.
All right. What's going on, brother Del Rey? My name is William Garland Jr. or Billy Garland. You know what I'm saying, Jr. Like you said, I go by the name Five Faces. And I'm Tupac's biological brother. We got the same father.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel, brother. I felt that it was imperative that I would have someone like yourself. I understand that, people know Mo Preem as being Tupac's brother, and I respect that, but he's Tupac's stepbrother. And the reason why I brung you on here, brothers, is because, like I said, I've talked to your father on many occasions. Most people believe that he's somehow deceased, but if you can clarify that for him, please.
Which is crazy, man. I know, you can't. That just goes to show to prove, that you can't believe everything you hear and read on the internet,
Absolutely.
But no, my pops ain't dead. He's very much alive,
okay,
and well.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I appreciate that confirmation, because a lot of people get it twisted. They go into Google and they kind of believe, like you say, everything that they read or hear in Google, as if Google is a person now, So, but yeah, like I said, it's a pleasure to have you. What I would like to get into first and foremost is, when did you find out that Tupac was your brother?
Oh yeah, at an early age, like 6.
Like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And how did that transpire?
I don't remember everything in detail because I'm 6, but right. I do remember vaguely. My pops came to the house. I was living with my mom's.
Okay.
And he would come frequently. On the weekends and get me and whatnot. And this one particular night, he came to the house. Like, I just remember him like being extra excited and smiling and telling my mom that he thinks he just found his son, or saw his son for the first time on the Juice movie poster when Pac did the movie Juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my pops, I guess, saw him on a poster, just happened to see him on the street somewhere, and realized like, oh shit, that's my son. Wow. And and he told my moms that. He told my moms that night. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. And so, I mean, I know you probably was 6 years old at that particular time, but yeah, that's crazy, man. I think that's very interesting. So, and you saying that, like I said, a lot of people have come to this thing about Tupac father. They have this narrative of Mr. Garland. Should I say? I always call him Mr. Garland out of respect, as not being there for his son. But you in particular, I just heard you say that your father would come pick you up. You were living with your mom, but your father would come pick you up. So right. What I want to ask you is, was Mr. Garland in your life like a father should be?
Yeah, most definitely. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Was he the perfect father? You know what I'm saying? Who is? You know what I'm saying?
True.
True. But he wasn't the absentee father that people try to portray him to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's Absolutely. and honestly, that portrayal, the reason why he kind of has that bad rep with certain people is because of, truth be told, lies that were told. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's very interesting. Like I said, me and you, we've talked extensively, and like I said, I've talked to your father extensively. So in understanding that Tupac was your brother and your father was involved with the Black Panther movement, and that's where he met Afeni Shakur at. Did your father instill some of that in you as you were growing up, some of those beliefs in who you were and who you were to become as a man?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, just by leading by example, you know what I'm saying? Watching him, seeing how he carried himself and how he conducted himself
Right.
with people. Um, and of course, I was young, so I didn't understand. I didn't know at that time that my pops was a Black Panther like that and really understand the whole movement like that until I got a little older, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, but yeah, a lot of that's in my blood. That shit was instilled into me, you know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that uh like I said, I found out Pac was my brother early age. So uh I was introduced to hip hop and music, you
Right.
know what I'm saying, from
Right.
him, you know. So you imagine here 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old listening to I was, to Pac and his words, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, and definitely he instilled I learned a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like Pac damn near raised me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a lot of people, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like a lot of other fans in the world, you know. I'm just lucky enough to be able to call him my blood brother, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And let's be clear, because I don't like to mislead people, but you never had the opportunity to meet Tupac, huh?
Mm-mm. No, unfortunately, uh, you know, he died in '96. So
Yeah.
I was 11, and no, I unfortunately I didn't get a chance to meet him. But he knew of us, me and my other brothers and sisters. He saw pictures of us and he knew our names and shit like that.
Absolutely. So can I ask you this? So when you found out that Tupac died, do you remember where you were when you
Oh
found out
hell yeah,
that he passed away? And
most
if
definitely.
you could talk about that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I remember that shit like it was yesterday, man. I was 11, and it just so happened that it's one of my cousin's birthday,
Okay.
September 13th, right? On my mom's side. It's one of my cousin's birthday. And so I was with his wife, picking up a birthday cake, shit like that.
Right.
And yeah, I never remember. I'll never forget it. On the way driving back home, we heard it on the radio.
Right.
We heard it
Oh,
on the
wow.
radio. That I mean, we already knew. I already knew, of course, because he got shot on the 7th and all the days. So we knew that he was shot and he was in the hospital and whatnot. But I was under the impression that he was gonna make it through.
Absolutely.
Like the first shooting. So when so when we heard that on the radio, I was devastated. That shit broke me down. I cried all
Right.
night. The worst I ever cried in my life to this day.
Absolutely. And you know what, I feel you right now. And you know, it, to talk to somebody who, like I said, it's a lot of people out there, kind of related to Mopreme Shakur, but to talk to somebody who shares that same DNA. And you just talked about your brothers and sisters. So who are your brothers and sisters that are Tupac's also blood brothers and sisters? Can you give us their name?
Right. So yeah, so my pops had 6 children.
Absolutely.
Um uh 4 boys and 2 girls, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So including Pac. So it's my other brother Landon and Malik,
Right.
and me, and then my other sisters Nika and Takira.
Okay. And we're gonna give a shout out to them, like I said, most
Yeah, you already
definitely. And
know. Shout out to
yeah,
my family.
absolutely,
Love
absolutely.
y'all.
They watching it. So so and when you deal with the death of Tupac Shakur, for me, I remember where I was at. You know what I mean? And like I said, you say you heard it on the radio. I believe when I talked to your father, he had heard the same thing over the radio. I believe he was still in Vegas at that particular time when he had heard it. I think he said he was going back to the hotel. Um, so
Right, he was out
and you
there.
said, yeah, and you said that you were basically raised on Tupac's music. But I wanted to ask you, in this, we've heard a lot of things in regards to your brother and his death and so on and so forth. But I'm gonna take you back to New York. Do you remember the first time that he was shot?
The quad shooting? Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and what were your feelings about that at that particular time? If you could run me, if you remember anything in regards to what was going on at that particular time, because that's when your father had actually got back up with Tupac at that particular time when he went to the hospital.
That was the first time, yeah, that he saw him in person.
Absolutely.
He went to the hospital when he was shot, right? And that was the whole thing where in the interview, Pac said that he woke up in the hospital and saw a nigga that looked just like him and shit.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember my dad telling me that he was going to the hospital to go see Pac.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because even though I'm young,
Right.
I'm like 10, 9 when he got shot, I think in 94.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like 9, you know what I'm saying? So, of course at that age, I don't really understand the intricate details and who's behind what and names and shit. I knew basically what everybody else knew, you know what I'm saying, in the newspapers and the articles and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But I just remember, yeah, it was just a difficult time. Like, Pac got shot. We didn't know if he was gonna make it or not,
Right.
And then I just remember specifically about that whole era, that whole time, that situation was like right after he got shot. A lot of shit was moving, the whole court thing. He was going back and forth in court. And then that Biggie shit, who shot you drop.
Right. Okay, so that you went right there. Let me stop you right there. So understanding, because I'm going to bring you up now to date. Understanding right now, Will, what you understand right now, and all of the things that you had heard Tupac talk about in reference to that, right? What do you think, and who do you think was responsible? Do you think Tupac was set up, or who do you think was responsible for that situation in New York?
Oh yeah, definitely. He was definitely set up. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That goes without question. That wasn't no fucking random, stick up. We was just gonna rob you for your jewelry. Nah, I feel like it was a little deeper than that. There was a couple people that was involved. A lot of too many coincidences, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just too many. And so, okay, so to get to the meat and potatoes, do I believe Biggie had anything to do with it directly? Nah, not, you know what I'm saying? I don't think so.
Okay.
But going off of what Pac said, and in his own words, he felt like Biggie knew more. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That Biggie should have, what I'm saying, gave him more of a heads up type shit. And so I think that's where that rift started.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. That whole thing between him and Biggie. But then I feel like the people who actually set him up to be shot and all that, those are like separate characters. You know what I'm saying? Those other characters that Pac had around him. Shady
okay. So are you speaking in reference to Haitian Jack?
Absolutely. Right. Okay. Names like that, Haitian Jack, and those like I said, suspect individuals that were around Pac, and they didn't mean him well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So let me ask you this, in understanding, partially now that you're old enough to understand who your brother was, do you feel like Tupac at that particular time was in over his head and the people that he was choosing to deal with at that time, being that he was already somewhat successful on his own? Do you feel like he needed to be involved with those individuals?
No, he had the wrong people around him. You know what I'm saying? I always said, like, it's over the years I've struggled, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I don't even like even talking about it because the pain is still real, you know?
Right.
But you know, I always said that honestly, I get a little mad at Pac sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because yeah, he had the wrong people around him. You know what I'm saying? He was too trustworthy, you know?
Right.
And that speaks to who Pac was as a person. You know what I'm saying? His character, I feel like Pac was loyal by default. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If he rocked with you, he rocked with you to the end. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yeah, and long story short, he had the wrong people around him, people that
Right.
didn't mean him well. You know what I'm saying? People that didn't have his best interests at heart, type shit.
Right.
Uh, there's a lot of shit that went down. There's a lot of fuck shit that went down. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Guns being left in the hotel room, and sexual assault cases that bogus shouldn't even been. You know what I'm saying? On him, like there's a
Right.
lot of there's a lot of bullshit that went down. You know.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the Art of Dialogue just the other day, just to go, he did an interview with the young lady Desiree Smith, and she actually even spoke on how they had found a tape with her and Tupac actually on it in regards to them being in relations, right? And the police yeah, and the police actually, you didn't hear that, yeah, and the police actually tried to use that tape to him Pac up too, and they basically told her to go into hiding. And I think she did that because she was not only just one of those people who was dealing with Pac on a level like that, personal level like that, but I feel like she was one of the people that he actually trusted, and she was one of those girls that that would be there for you no matter what was going on, how many other girls you might have or whatever. And she understood the situation she was in. So it's funny that you say that in regards to that. And so let me go there because that was around about the same time, if you will. So what do you think? Do you think that because a lot of people have said that in regards to the situation with the young lady in New York, Ayana, I believe her name is. Do you think that that was a setup, or do you think that was something? Because a lot of people feel like Pac was set up based on the situation that happened in Atlanta with the off-duty police officers. Somehow, some way, they were basically out to get him. And like a lot of people say, well, Haitian Jack, set that up. I personally, I don't really know what to think about that, but I think that's way too intricate. So what are your thoughts in regards to that situation?
Yeah, I've heard those same kind of stories, like set up and this. Yeah, I'm not so sure if like the whole thing was orchestrated to set him up. I get it. The cops were on Pac's heels, you know what I'm saying? Because of
Absolutely.
course they didn't like what went down in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? He got a lot of notoriety for that.
Right.
And at the end of the day, he turned out to be right in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So it looked bad on the cops. So of course they didn't like him at this point. But do I think it was a setup? No, I just think it was circumstances. I think again, Pac had the wrong people surrounding him. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of fuck niggas surrounding him. And I don't want to bash the woman who was, alleged to have been assaulted, Ayana Jackson, I believe her name is.
Yes.
I don't want to discredit what she says. I've watched the interview of her.
Right. Is that on Vlad? Was that on Vlad?
I believe so. Right. Okay. A couple years back, right? I think. And I'm put it like this. I believe something happened to her.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
Understand? But I don't think it was by the hands of Pac by any means.
Okay.
And like Pac said it in his own words, you know what I'm saying? He was the name in that room. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows who Tupac is.
Absolutely.
So it just naturally just fell on him. You know what I'm saying? And then when you want to throw on the whole cops were after him and that, well, that's why he ultimately got convicted and stuff, because at that point now the cops is after him and now they're trying to just pin anything on him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And so I totally understand where you're coming from, because when you think about the case in itself, you know, what prosecutors usually use as a tactic is they overcharge you. So it might be one thing, definitely. And they'll stack up the charges, hoping they can get you to cop a plea or agree to plea out.
They throw anything to the wall, see what sticks.
Sticks, absolutely. Right. And so in that situation, I seen Tupac in that situation, and I said to myself, you know, which goes into like, I'm feeling your spirit right now, and Mr. Garland, your father's spirit, and just where that comes from, right? That fighter, that thing, right? That Tupac had in him, you know, right. Just genetically, you know, that, you know, some things are just innate for you. And so when it happened, you know, they were basically trying to get Tupac to plea out, but he wouldn't plea out. And he fought it and he walked it and he went to jail. And the most ironic thing was, he said he made a statement. He said, I hope one day that the truth will come out, because he knew for himself that it was a lie. So
right. Yeah. Right. He knew in his heart. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. Let's be real. I mean, Pac was Pac. You know what I'm saying? At this point, he wasn't all eyes on me, Machiavelli Pac yet, but he Absolutely. Was still Juice and Poetic Justice.
Absolutely.
Pac. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. I just feel like, you know, he didn't have to. Why would he have to? He had so many women. You know,
absolutely. Like, and as a matter of, like I say, we go back to the young lady Desiree, you know what I mean? And other women that she knew that Tupac were dating. But once again, she said that even if confronted with the tape, she would never turn on him. She would never go that route. And like I said, so, you know, it just goes to speak towards what you're saying, as well as to what the evidence has showed at that particular time. But I have another question. Do you think that if it wasn't for that situation, because that's the situation that ultimately put Tupac in jail, to be able to be bailed out on what people thought was by Suge Knight, but we come to find out that wasn't really actually the case. It was Interscope who actually bailed him out. But Suge did, let's be clear, he did rep and step up and be the front person to take on that
front man for it, right?
Absolutely. So do you think that if it wasn't for that situation, that I feel in certain ways, because everything happens for a reason, that Tupac would still be alive, because he wouldn't have been signed to death row if it wasn't for that situation involving the young lady?
Right. I think that was what set a lot of events in motion, you know,
right.
that ultimately led to what it led to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Absolutely. If you really break it down in its entirety and you go back and you look at the timeline, absolutely, that's what started it. You know what I'm saying? That whole sexual assault case, that started the rift between him and Haitian Jack and all those people. Haitian Jack felt like Pac, I guess, was saying too much, or was scared Pac was going to say too much, or whatever.
Right.
That's what led to the Quad Studio set up or whatever, and then, you know, Biggie not saying nothing, and then Pac goes to jail, and then people got to remember, you know what I'm saying, he just got shot 5 times. He got this woman lying on him about some sexual assault that in his heart he know he ain't do, you know what I'm saying? So he's hella paranoid, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was a lot going on. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
That was just basically the statement in regards to it. You were right on path with it in regards to if that wouldn't have happened, then the thing about death row and him being, you know, ultimately
that's what led to it, right?
Yeah, being under the umbrella of death row. And you were right, like you said, they put a lot of things in motion. And no, you were right on point. So you keep going.
He goes to he gets locked up, you know what I'm saying? Got the fucking #1 album in the country. You know what I'm saying? And his label people don't want to bail him out or whatever the case is. You know, it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of fuck shit going on, man.
Let me clear that up. And a lot of people think that Interscope didn't want to bail him out. But what the facts were, and when people really study the facts in the case, they couldn't bail him out because when Tupac got convicted, they immediately tried to go for an appeal that day in court. They said, we want to, Your Honor, we want to see if we can file an appeal. And the judge denied that. So at that particular time, he couldn't get out. So he had to go to jail. And then what they did was they went to the another circuit in the New York, I believe, Supreme Court. And it was, I think, a 3-judge panel. And he won that. And then he was then able to file an appeal. And when they found out that he could get out, and as you said, the #1 album and all of that, that's when Interscope then put up the money with Warner Brothers and told Suge, hey, look, it's come on Death Row. Suge went to see him. And then he comes to under the umbrella of Death Row. So I think a lot of people have that thing misunderstood. Not that you do, but I mean, just to clarify that. So, but yeah, but like I said,
That's what I'm saying. Whatever the details were, you know what I'm saying? But I know that, here he is sitting in jail for some shit he didn't do. And here comes Suge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've been there. I've been locked up. You know what I'm saying? When you're locked up, all you care about is your freedom. You know?
Right.
So you do whatever it takes. So I don't blame Pac for signing with Suge and Death Row and because he's trying to get out. But absolutely, those are the things that happened, that snowball effect that ultimately led to his demise. You know what I'm saying? Because if he never would have linked up with Suge and Death Row, he would never got immersed into that whole gang culture like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Because the fact of the matter is he was already on the West Coast. He was in Oakland and he didn't fall. He didn't fall. He wasn't under that umbrella, wasn't really trying to claim nothing or be with anything or anybody under that.
Right. He fucked with everybody. He was
absolutely.
He was fucking with everybody. Right.
Absolutely. No, so now and dealing with the Suge Knight situation. And so do you think from your perspective, was Suge Knight a good or bad influence on your brother?
Oh no, he was bad. Yeah, all the way around. From all accounts that I've seen and read and everything, from my understanding, you know what I'm saying? He jerked him out of a lot of money. He was jerking him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Had cars and houses, telling Pac that it was in his name, but really it's not. It's in Suge's name or his people's or whatever the fuck he was doing. He was doing a lot of wheeling and dealing, but no, he was doing Pac wrong. You know what I'm saying? He was doing Pac wrong. And I think as the months went on, Pac was starting to be hip to that. You know what I'm saying? His eyes was opening to what was going on and shit like that.
Right.
And I don't know what happens from there, No. Suge's always been a shady dude. Now, did he have love for Pac? Probably. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't have love for Pac? You know what I'm saying? Who didn't want to be around Pac? You know what I'm saying? So he saw what it was. He saw that Pac was the bag, know?
Absolutely.
But so, from all accounts and shit like that, I'm sure they had this like, on the surface, this like brother kind of relationship, but behind closed doors, nah, Suge was on some fuck shit and he was doing them wrong.
Okay. Absolutely. So now, and the reason why I asked that, because you have a lot of people, like I said, you being his brother, you have a lot of people who have a lot of theories, and I appreciate your honesty in regards to that. You know what I mean? And so when we talk about the Suge, because like Tupac was only on Death Row for 11 months. And so a lot of people have all of these extra stories, you know what I mean, that they come out with. And so it was a very, very limited time that he was actually there on Death Row. So he comes over to Death Row. He records All Eyes on Me. He gets to work immediately, right? So there's been this one thing that's always prevailed from the notion of a lot of people in regards to what escalated the situation between him and Biggie, right? But I'm gonna go back to Quad Studios for a minute, because Tupac said in Against All Odds, right, on the Machiavelli album, you know, he talked about Puffy. He talked about a lot of things and mentioned a lot of people's names. So I want to ask you personally, right here, right now, do you think that Sean Puffy Combs had anything to do with that situation in Quad Studios?
A lot to unpack there. Again, there was people involved.
Right.
I saw a documentary or article or something, or YouTube, something like that, but somebody was talking about that, how Puffy was there at the Quad Studios. He wasn't even supposed to be there.
Right.
Some type. So that's like coincidence number one. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is you doing there?
Right.
And then supposedly he was having like some secret meeting with some other guys. I can't think of the names off the top of my head.
Jimmy Henchman?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. I heard that name, Jimmy Henchman. Right. And so, you know, you hear things like that and you see coincidences, and then you see the interviews that they've said themselves. I mean, you can see it, you know what I mean? The contradictions.
Okay.
You know. So I think there's more there than Puff put on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I can't say definitively he had something to do with it directly. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But he is involved with the people or knows the people that was behind that shit.
That was ultimately responsible for it.
Right. I absolutely believe that. Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, like I said, and I love the answer, because you know you're not leading with this conspiracy theory thing that a lot of people do based on having no evidence. And I think that you would be the person who would be able to ultimately feel something because it was your brother. You know what I mean? Right. And that's why I appreciate the answer that you just gave just now, man. And from that perspective. So yeah, and like I said, so when we drift from that, there was a situation ultimately that came out in where basically the guy who actually was responsible for the shooting, a guy by the name of Dexter Isaacs, right? I
heard that name once, right?
Right. He basically copped to being the trigger man behind that situation in regards to Tupac, and then he did mention Jimmy Henchman's name. So ultimately, Puffy's name wasn't really mentioned in that, but so I do understand what you're saying. So how do you feel about the guy Dexter Isaacs coming out and basically saying that he was the shooter, and also that it was supposed to be a robbery and not they weren't supposed to shoot Tupac, but just basically send him a warning by robbing him? How you feel about that?
I mean, that could be, you know what I'm saying? I've heard it go both ways, that it was a hit made to look like a robbery, you know, for some behind the scenes shit. Like I said, I think people felt that Pac would say too much. Like I said, there was a lot of shit going on, that whole sexual assault case, and so I guess some other things that Pac said, I guess, that them cats was mad about or whatever.
Right.
And you know, and so I look at it like, after all these years, I guess, why would the brother have to lie? Why would dude lie?
Right.
Why, you know, so yeah, I think I do remember seeing something like that he admitted to being the one and snatching the chain and some shit like that, and that he got the order from Jimmy Henchman or some shit like that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I've heard those same things, and then I've also heard other people confirm that, you know what I'm saying, or co-sign those same sentiments.
Right.
So it's like, you know, what else am I supposed to believe? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I feel like I said, there's a lot of shady characters involved behind the scenes, and yeah, they did my brother wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know.
And you know what? Like I said, the first time I met your brother was in '93 at Bowie State University. I've said this before, right? And I actually seen the interaction between him and Biggie. And so I understood partially, not the full intricacies of what, their dealings was, but I seen partially before I even knew who Biggie was. You go back, there's a tape online at Bowie State University of how Tupac was looking out for Biggie, because it was Tupac's show. He was the headliner. It was some other go-go bands and stuff like that. But in the middle of Tupac's shows, right before he did Keep Your Head Up, right? He let Biggie get on stage with Randy Stretch Walker, Big Stretch, and because the Live Squad was there too, but he let Biggie get on stage and perform Party and Bullshit. If you can elaborate on anything in regards to how Tupac felt about Biggie based on what you've heard Tupac say, can you do that?
Right. Yeah, a lot of people seem to forget the history on, you know what I'm saying, about like details like that, how Pac put Biggie on with a lot of shit, you know what I'm saying? Like Pac said, motherfuckers ain't know who Biggie was, not even in New York. You know what I'm saying? Niggas ain't know who Biggie was. And it was Pac. Pac was already, he was already a star. He wasn't that superstar yet, but he was already a star. He already had I Get Around and I Keep Your Head Up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It just goes all back full circle to what I mean about Pac's character. When he rocked with you, if he fucked with you, he went out of his way to help you. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to put to stop his show and let Biggie rock so he could get some shine. You know what I'm saying? He absolutely did not have to do that. But because he felt in his heart like that's his boy, you know what I'm saying? That was Pac's character. And then so you got to understand that, right? So all that happens, letting him stay at his crib, whatever the fuck, giving him and Junior Mafia money to do whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then now fast forward, the shit at Quad happens.
Right.
And like I said, Pac felt what he felt, that, Biggie knew more than he let on, and that he should have let Pac know. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then all that goes in, all that shit gets tied together. Like, nigga, here you are. Like Pac said it. He looked at him as like a little brother type shit. And, you violated. You know what I'm saying? You violated. So I think, that's where it started. And then what heightened it and what pushed it further was him hooking up with Suge and Death Row.
Right.
And because from my understanding, Suge already had like a little beef going on with Puffy already. Right? Like behind the scenes, before Pac even came in the picture.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? One of Suge's homeboys got murdered in Atlanta.
Right. So there was already some shit brewing, right?
Okay.
And then here you go, Pac enters the mix, and he already got now his animosity and his, feelings and his passion about it.
Right.
Bad Boy. And then it was just like, it was like the perfect storm, man. It was like the perfect storm.
Okay.
And it got out of control real fast.
Got out of control, absolutely. So look, Will, so I definitely understand what you were saying by that. But I think another thing that got Tupac mad was because when he went to jail, right? Knowing one thing about it, because remember he did the Vibe interview once he was in jail with the guy Kevin, and but once he went to jail, I think Biggie didn't go see him. He didn't go to see him, right?
Shit like that, right?
So what do you think? And but hold on, before I even go there, let me check this out. Before I even go there, when I talked to your pops, when I talked to your father, you and Tupac's father, when I talked to him, he told me about after he got shot, right? When he went to the hospital, right? What had happened in regards to that? He had told me that when he got there, he said that the security guard, when he walked up and he said he was Tupac's father, the security guard told him that Tupac's father was dead, and how much that crushed him. You know what I mean?
Right.
What do you think about that? And he said Afeni or Tupac's auntie Gloria came out. I believe it was Afeni came out and said, no, that is Tupac's father. You can let him in. So with that monumental thing right there happening, and I'm sure you probably talked to your father about it. With that monumental thing right there happening, how does that make you feel? You know what I mean? Because that was a real big part of what it was. But I will be honest. Right. The father did say that Biggie came to the hospital.
Yeah. My dad always told me that story. He told me how he met Biggie, how Biggie walked up to him. That's what he said. He said Biggie walked up to him and introduced himself and, you know, just gave him the whole thing of how he feels bad and sorry about, you know, Pac being, you know, laid up and shit, shot. So because of that, my old man has the feeling that Biggie didn't have anything to do with, you know, for that reason. You know what I'm saying?
And that would be totally understandable. And that was what I was going to ask you next. I was like, would that be the reason? Because like I said, a lot of people have tried to paint Biggie, you know, because I guess somebody has to be the villain, if you will. And like Tupac had to be the villain in the hotel room involving the girl. You know, Biggie was the more known person other than Puffy, and he was the artist coming out. And from what Tupac had was in regard to his feelings about some of the stuff, right? So Biggie had to be the villain. So is that the reason why you feel like that he didn't have, from talking to your father, is that the reason why you feel like he didn't have anything to do with that?
I mean, it could be. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't put it past nobody. Shit, you got psychopaths that'll kill a motherfucker and then smile in somebody's face, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
In the next second. So, you know, I don't put it past nobody. It's just too much bullshit that went on to make me believe, okay, like I said, yeah, maybe Biggie didn't have anything to do with Pac getting shot directly, right?
Right.
But you wasn't a friend either, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wasn't a friend like you was putting on. The way Pac felt that y'all was. You know what I'm saying? That y'all was close enough.
He didn't go to see him.
Just like you just said, he ain't even go see him in jail.
Right.
He didn't even write him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even write him. He didn't even go see him. And then not only that, I always point to the biggest shit. It's like, it just doesn't make sense, bro. If that was if my boy just got shot, you're supposed to be my boy, and we ain't got no animosity with each other, no beef or nothing like that, and you get shot. You know what I'm saying? Not only do you get shot, but niggas don't even know who shot you really like that. Like, it's still a mystery type shit at this point. And I go ahead and drop who shot you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's mad suspect. You know what I'm saying?
The optics of that don't even look, you know, bad timing, bad choice of words under the circumstances. And
of course, I'm sure that's through Puffy and the record labels, you know what I'm saying, as a business opportunity to jump on that, you know, because they know that shit's gonna go fucking viral, you know what I'm saying? Before viral was even viral, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the optics don't look good. You know what I'm saying?
It didn't look good. Yeah.
Right, just on a street level. Y'all niggas talking like y'all on some street shit.
Right.
On some street level shit that doesn't look good. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be your man's. It's supposed to be your man's.
Right.
And you sitting up here dropping a song talking about some who shot you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you know, and dealing with the song Who Shot You, you know, you have a lot of people that came out, Little C's, Charlie Baltimore. It was a lot of people that came out that basically said, and you know, I partially believe what that is, that the song was done prior to Tupac being shot. But like I said, once again, back to your point, is that being I would say reckless enough to do that, understanding what Tupac and Biggie's relationship was, and dropping that, and it being so incendiary, in which it worked. Like you said, it worked, because the mystery was, you know, you know, who shot you? Separate the weak from the obsolete. You know what I mean? In the
lyrics,
it
left it in the air.
Yeah, it left it in the air as to what that really meant, though. And so, yeah. So I, like I said, I go back to, you know, your pops and him coming to the hospital. And so that's the other thing that, you know, I think, do you think that Biggie was under some kind of pressure to not really say anything, you know, based on the dudes that was around, you know, like, you know, the guys that we understand that shot Tupac at the quad?
Like there was some real heavy hitters, you know what I'm saying, behind the scenes, like some real gangsters behind the scenes. Yeah.
Right.
I've heard that before. And it's probably true. You know what I'm saying? It's probably true. And niggas probably put pressure on Big, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know, but it was just a lot of bullshit that went on, you know. So like I'm saying, so that obviously feeds the fire. You know what I'm saying? That obviously pours fuel on the fire.
Because it's like you choosing sides. It's like you choosing sides. Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't come see me. You got this fucking song out. You putting out interviews, the Vibe magazine interview, blatantly going against what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like if I'm lying or I'm exaggerating about what happened. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely believe everything Pac said about that night. How the nigga came up, he got shot, he came out the elevator, and now everybody looked at him all crazy and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was looking at him, you know. It's just a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was a lot,
It's a lot, but you know, it's just not a good look. It's just not a good look.
Not a good look.
Especially you talking about that's your boy. You know, y'all supposed to be.
No, that's true. That's true. So I just wanted to deal with that, like in its intricacies, because like I said, there's a lot of moving parts in regards to that. And like I said, so what I'm gonna ask you now is ultimately, if Tupac and Biggie had lived, right, do you think that they would have been able to overcome the obstacles that were before them at that particular time, including the Faith Evans situation?
The Faith Evans, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, because I was actually, like I say, I was with your brother that night. We were at the Hollywood Athletic Club when he met her. So a lot of people
I seen your video. I seen your video.
So a lot of people didn't know. People thought that Pac was capping when he did hit him up.
I never doubted it once.
Okay, so check this out. So do you think that if Tupac and Biggie had lived, would they had been able to squash their beef?
You know, that's a tough one to answer, because you want to say, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because they're older and they're maybe more mature now and they let bygones be bygones type shit. But then when you really think about what was it over, you know what I'm saying? What was the beef about? And it wasn't just, the shit wasn't nothing to, you know, to sneeze about. It wasn't no minute small thing. Like it was life and death situations that was going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The whole shit where everybody know the story with Snoop being in New York and Biggie put an announcement on the radio, and the next thing you know, Snoop shit gets shot up. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, shit was going down back in them times, life and death situations.
Right.
So, you know, knowing me and how I am, that would be very hard to squash something with somebody that serious. You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with life and death, right, or your peoples, whatever, trying to cause me bodily harm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
So it's you know, it's kind of hard to answer that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate, like I say, I appreciate your honesty and being candid about that, man. And so now we go from there to after, you know, if you want to say, well, Pac get out of jail, but let me deal with another thing, and this has come up just recently, right? Recently, there was a situation involving, people were saying that Tupac somehow had something to do with Big Stretch's murder, right? And one of those people who really went in and went on Vlad and actually suggested that was the dude Reggie Wright, who was the head of death row security, and not.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that. Yeah, and so what do you feel about that situation involving that and people saying that? But we just heard recently that the guy who was actually responsible for shooting Jam Master Jay was also responsible for shooting Big Stretch. So
and that it was a separate incident and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, honestly, I just chalk that up to karma. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everything what you put out comes back on you, man. You know what I'm saying? No matter how long, you know what I'm saying? No matter how long it takes for that karma to catch up, it does catch up. So that's what I chalked it up to. Whatever street politics and whatever street shit dude was involved in. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I've heard, people try to insinuate that, like, Pac gave the green light for that. But like I said, you also hear too many stories on the other side, basically contradicting, basically saying that was just a totally separate incident. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. No, and like I said, I always, what I always like to do is I try to deal with the fact of the matter. And when I ask that, because like I said, there's been a lot of rumors and things circulating just about certain situations. I think one of the things that actually turned Tupac against Stretch, if you will, is that when Tupac was in jail, like I said, once again, the young lady Desiree Smith, she went on Art of Dialogue the other day, and so there's pieces that are still coming together. Okay. She basically was trying to get Tupac's information, his address and things to write him in jail and so on and so forth. So she basically said when Stretch came to supposedly give that to her, he was basically asking her, "What's up with you and me?" Like basically hitting on her. And I think from what I understand from her, she actually went back and she told Tupac about that. And I think, since loyalty, like you say, was one of his big things, sometimes to a fault, I think that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. Not only that, but Stretch was another person who actually didn't come see Pac. And I mean, I like I said, I seen that Bowie State, but not only that, do videos and other things that Stretch was like Tupac's right-hand man. So I know that had to rub him, some kind of way. So what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, of course. I've heard those same kind of things. Also, in addition to, I didn't see with this new girl, like you said, but I saw a video before with I believe the actress Jasmine Guy said the same kind of similar story. I believe that dude Stretch tried to talk to her on the low.
Oh wow! I didn't. Yeah, I did. That's the first. See, I ain't up on that one, but that's new information.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I heard, man.
Yeah,
it's out there. She video and she said. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I might be mistaken with the name. I go check it, but I'm just saying, I remember hearing the same kind of story, a similar story with that dude Stretch. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I've also heard Napoleon from the Outlaws mention Stretch in that nature. Like he thought that he was moving foul.
On both sides, he was basically playing both sides of the fence.
Right. Because I think people is well documented and well known how I believe Pac was at Jasmine Guy's house because he checked himself out of the hospital the first time he got shot.
Right, absolutely.
Checked himself out of the hospital. He was dealing with Jasmine Guy. They were friends, whatever. He's like basically hiding out in her crib.
Right.
I think Napoleon mentioned something like that dude showed up.
Right.
Stretch showed up and told him, woo, whatever, fucking don't start war until you get your money right. Type. Right. That whole, shit that Pac put out, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and that's a good point that Napoleon brought up. I always thought like, yeah, this supposed to be your man, but you delivering messages from the enemy type shit. You know what I'm saying? The ops, what they call them today, right? So
absolutely.
That's a little suspect, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, man, just a lot of lot of shadiness was going on, man.
A lot of
you know.
So as far as being an entertainer, an actor, poet, and rapper, and your feelings, what do you feel about, like you say, because you were basically raised off of your brother's music. So what do you feel about him overall as an entertainer? You know, where do you rate him? And you know, that kind of can be a biased question, but where does he hold? You know, how do you explain that to the viewers?
Right.
So where do you hold him? His entertainment, his acting, his poetry, his you know, the revolutionary part of him. What does that mean to you?
Right, as a whole.
Right.
Oh man, it means, it's like I said, it's an honor. Sometimes I still can't believe it. Sometimes, like I'm telling you, it's an honor, it's a privilege to be able to call him my brother and be related to him in that way. Because and yeah, you're right. I know it's gonna come off as biased and shit like
Right,
that because yeah, it's my brother. But in all seriousness, I swear to God, man, even if he wasn't my brother, I would still regard him in the same way. You know what I'm saying? I would still, because he was just different, man. He was just on a different level. His music, you felt his shit. You know what I'm saying? The things that he talked about, you know what I'm saying, was real life struggles. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Shit that people are going through. And you know, I mean, honestly, you know, I of course I think he's one of the greatest to ever do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't care what people categories they want to label, lyricist and this or that or that. Fuck that. He's the best that ever do it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
Right.
And honestly, I feel like I can make a strong argument. I can make a strong case, bro, that he's one of the most influential artists of our time. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Or of a generation, whatever, you know what I'm saying, people want to call it. But he was that instrumental. He was that important to hip hop and the culture as a whole, you know. He's the gold standard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You see it throughout the years, 26 years.
Right.
And people to this day, right, compare themselves to Tupac.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They aspire to be, I'm the next Tupac. I'm the next, you know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You know, I'm sorry, but you don't hear too many motherfuckers talking about I'm the next Biggie. Right. Or I'm the next, you know what I mean? I'm just,
absolutely.
You know.
So that's what I was gonna ask you that too, because over the years, even currently with the new artists, right? Well, when you think about them coming out, a lot of artists compare themselves to your brother, and also, like you say, once again, basically saying that they're the next Tupac, but usually it's used as a promotional ploy or marketing ploy to bring attention to their project, which is not really getting any attention based on the artistry itself that they've created, right? How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's just, I mean, it is what it is. It's twofold, you know, because it's like you whack for that. You know what I'm saying? That you got to use somebody, you know, name to positively or negatively, but usually it's negative. You know, motherfucker got to say some shit like, oh, Pac is boring, or I'm better than Tupac, and you know, all that dumb shit to get, like you said, their little 15 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Their little notoriety, their little clout, you know, but there's no substance behind it, you know?
True.
And it just goes to show, that's what I'm saying. It just goes to show the relevancy of this man, you know what I'm saying? That to this day, like I said, people still compare to him, you know what I'm saying? And records, and I mean, there's curriculum taught about this nigga, you know what I'm saying? It's like Tupac 101 in universities.
In universities, you know absolutely,
Talk about his life and his words and his, you know what I'm saying? So this is laughable, really, you know what I'm saying?
It is. You know, as a matter of fact, I did a recent video, and I'm going to get you to chime in about this. T-Pain came a few days ago, and he basically said that Tupac would have been murdered by some, not murdered in a sense, but murdered by some of these MCs today. Lyrically,
got ate up.
Yeah,
right,
he would have got ate
like
up.
That.
Yeah, he got ate up. So what do you feel about that? And T-Pain saying that?
Just silly, again, just a motherfucker saying the most ridiculous, animated shit, hot take that they can say.
Right.
And, so they can get some eyeballs. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I'm not, and like I said, when I said it's twofold, it's like, I'm not even too mad at it because at the same time, it's like a compliment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's because that nigga was so fucking great that you still gotta, you know what I mean? Like you still gotta use
you still gotta plug it. You gotta plug his name.
Right. And so it's just, so it's ridiculous, of course.
Right.
Anybody who, and I've heard that story over and over, that same sentiment that Pac wasn't a true lyricist and shit. And people who say that shit is motherfuckers who their first song, okay, or their first album from Tupac was All Eyes on Me. You understand what I'm saying? Type shit. Machiavelli. That's how they got introduced to Pac. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I've been listening to my brother since 6. You know what I'm saying? All his shit. From Tupacalypse Now, Thug Life, Strictly for My Niggas, Me Against the World. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And to me, how could you not call that a lyricist? You know what I'm saying? The wordplay that he's using and the subject matter. That's what it's about. The subject matter that he's talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he talked about some shoot 'em up, bang bang shit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But the overall shit, man, was just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, it's just real shit.
No, I think you have a great point, because there's a difference between being a lyricist and being a songwriter. Lyricism is what that is if you a battle MC, if you doing all of this. But a songwriter, when you talk about what kind of songs you have and what's actually paying the bills and your artistry being successful, right? That's why Tupac is one of the most the best-selling artists of all time. On to his death too. But like I said, even when he dropped Me Against the World in Prison, 2 million records, #1 record. Then comes out, drops All Eyes on Me, 5 million records, and within like 4 months. And so
the first double album, mind you,
absolutely.
Nobody ever did a double album before that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So he was a trendsetter with a lot of shit, man.
Right. And no, so now I want to take you, I want to bring you out, because like I said, we deal with that 11 months thing. We deal with the situation involving the West Coast. But before we do that, I want to go back to Atlanta real fast. And when Tupac, Edie had spoke on this, Edie from the Outlaws, when they were driving and they seen the young man being harassed by these guys at this particular time, unbeknownst to them that they were undercover officers or whatever, and Tupac handled his business and did what he did. So what do you think about that, as far as, like I said, being the revolutionary side of who he was?
As a kid, of course. Okay, so that happened like in 93, right? Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm 8. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't fully understand what's going on, but I can read the newspapers and shit like that, and the news, and everybody was talking about it, how he shot at too. So I understood, you know what I'm saying, what he did.
Right.
And even though I didn't know all the intricate details like I do now as an adult.
Well, just speak from that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you now to speak from what you know now. Right. You know what I mean?
And I knew he did it from a good place. Right. That's what I mean. Like, I knew he did it, even though I didn't know, I just knew he did it from a good place. And so, okay, even now, as I gotten older, you know what I'm saying? And I realize now, it's like I always said, man, that's one of the most gangster shit I've ever seen in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Hands down, man. Okay, when you really break it down in its totality, right?
Right.
Like you said, Pac didn't even know that they were undercover off-duty cops. He didn't
Right.
know that they were off-duty cops.
Absolutely.
Right. So to me, that makes it even more just like powerful. Is that again, Pac is the star at this point. Okay.
Right.
He did Juice. He did Poetic Justice. He just did a movie with Janet fucking Jackson.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So he's a star. Okay. Here he is on his way from the story, from what I understand, he is on the way to a party or some shit, like some after party. He just rocked the show or something
Right.
like that.
Absolutely.
And he's on the way to a party and he sees two white boys. That's basically the situation. He sees two white boys harassing a brother. You know what I'm saying? And he went out of his way to intervene. You know what I'm saying? To stop that shit. He didn't know that they was cops. You know what I'm saying? That, to me, that's irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Because I know people gonna say, "Oh, if they were cops, he wouldn't have did it." Whatever. That doesn't matter. The point is that he saw two white boys harassing a brother, and he stopped that shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And to me, that just speaks to who he was, man. Like you said, all that shit, revolutionary, about the people, against police brutality and all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like I said, as a kid, when I was 8, I didn't know everything, but I understood then that even though, yeah, he shot at some cops, I knew that he did it for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I knew. And then as I got older, of course, now I understand that he was right in what he did. Absolutely. And I just,
and when you,
like
and
I
when
said,
you, so when you say that he was, when you say that he was right, when you say that he was right, is that based on what we see now today?
Oh my God, of course. It's more relevant today than ever.
Right.
You know, the same shit that was going on back then when Pac was alive and the things that he was speaking on and rapping about and warning us about, you know what I'm saying? All that shit is playing out right now.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, man. So that's what I'm saying. So when you got that understanding, you know what I'm saying, of who this man was,
right,
and what he was willing to put on the line, he didn't fucking have to do that. Again, he didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he just saw the injustice. You feel me?
Right.
And he took it upon himself to intervene. And so that's why it's just fucking laughable, honestly, when you got these other cats out here who compare himself to him.
Right.
Because it's like none of these rappers, none of them would ever do no shit like that.
Right.
Fuck the cops. Take the cop shit out of the situation. Just see some shit like that. Like I said, the whole situation, you a star. You on your way to a party and get right. You know what I'm saying? But because you just so happen to see some injustice going down, you fucking, you know what I mean? You bust at him and you make, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like I said, like,
no, I totally understand. That's why I asked that question. I totally understand where you're coming from, and a lot of stuff that like I said, that Tupac rapped about, like you say, is still relevant today. A lot of the messages in his music you can still learn from today. Like you said, they're teaching courses in universities on who he was, his social, his music, and all of those things. So I think that's very important.
His poetry.
Yeah, his poetry. That's the reason why. Yeah, that's the reason why I asked that question. But like I said, and we're gonna, so check this out. So now we're gonna come to California, right? The situation, because I feel like there would have never been a hit 'em up if Tupac didn't meet Faith Evans. I think that when he met her and what happened between him and her, basically made it so that when he wrote Hit 'Em Up, and you can see in the beginning of the lyrics, right? When, you know, first off, fuck your bitch, the click you claim, you know, you claim to be a player. That was one of the most incendiary lyrics that I feel like that has ever been written in a hip hop song that was actually true. And I don't think people really understand that. So what the question is, if he wouldn't have met Faith Evans, do you think personally would he have wrote Hit 'Em Up?
He probably still would have wrote some version or form of Hit 'Em Up, but you know, But without Faith Evans, he doesn't have that ammo. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
He doesn't have that extra bravado, like, yeah, nigga, I fucked your bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, right.
you ain't shit. Da, 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 da. It was just extra. I feel like that was the extra cherry on the top. Pac already had ammo for Biggie because
Right.
of all the shit that I stated before, how he put him on and da 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 da, and Pac even talked about how he felt like Biggie stole his style. You know what I'm saying? Copied
Absolutely.
his style, blah blah blah. So I feel like Pac already had ammo for Biggie. You know what I'm saying? So a form or version of Hit 'Em Up would have came up. But you're probably right. That's a good point. You know what I'm saying? Um, what happened between him and Faith Evans was just cherry on the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted to deny that based on the fact that they really didn't know. They really didn't. And like when I came out and I spoke about it in detail, and I gave people information that they didn't know, like Tretch was there with OJ Simpson's daughter Arnell,
Right.
a lot of stuff that people wouldn't have necessarily knew.
The behind the scenes shit.
Yeah, behind the scenes stuff that they wouldn't
Right.
have known. And so when it happened, I tried to let people know that that wasn't Pac's true intentions. He wasn't, because the initial conversation was when he walked up to the car, was like, "Hey, how you doing?" Da 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 da. Tupac was like, "Yo, I like your music. We should do something together." That was his initial conversation. And so when I tell people that, people don't really understand that, and they tried to make it a bigger thing than it was, when it really wasn't that big at that particular point back then. When he wrote Hit 'Em Up, that's when it became this polarizing subject matter and so on and so forth. So, you know what I mean? That was the reason why I asked you that situation involving him and Faith. So I'm going to ask you right now, that being your brother, do you think that him and Faith had relations?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said before, I never doubted it when he said it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? In
Okay.
the song.
Okay.
I mean, to keep it real, I mean, unless somebody proves me wrong, I haven't seen Pac lie about anything. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, there's a lot of shit that Pac said and claimed that to this day, I haven't heard a lot of motherfuckers dispute. You know what I'm saying? Or better yet, when he was alive, motherfuckers didn't dispute. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? It's only now that he's dead all these years later, now people are trying to, change details and blah blah blah.
Absolutely.
But uh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I
So
believe
check
that.
this out, because now this is the thing that I tried to bring people up on. Will, now we on the subject, right? So she wrote this book. Now, I didn't really think it was a big thing to even talk about until I read the book and then I seen her on Drink Champs, right? So for me, when I saw that, I was like, yo, that wasn't how it happened. I'm like, no way.
Right.
And then so once I read the book, she tried to make it seem as if she took the timeline and tried to mix it all up, right? But because I was there the night that they met, and I proved with pictures. So the picture that they met the first night with Tupac, hugging on her and cool. They were at the Hollywood Athletic Club.
Right.
But then it was like 21 days, 20 some odd days later that they were at the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party. And they met up again. But Pac was actually there as a guest of Whitney Houston, because him and Whitney Houston was dealing with each other on that level too, right?
Right, I heard that.
So when he goes there as a guest of hers, and Faith is actually on the soundtrack to the movie, right? Faith says in the book, in which this part I kind of think part of it's accurate, is that that Whitney Houston looked at her like, because Tupac was sitting at Faith's table, right? Oh, you with him too? You know what I mean? Well, what you?
Right.
So what do you got to think about?
She knew what it was. She knew what time it was. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that's the way it was. I mean, Pac was a ladies' man. You know what I'm saying? He was, handsome, rich.
Talented.
You know what I'm saying? Women loved him. You know what I'm saying? And so women knew what it was. Oh, you hanging with them, right? You know what I'm saying? So that must be,
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting it right. So yeah. Well, like I said, I've always believed it from the moment he said it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Of course, it was funny, you know. And as I've gotten older, and then now you hear people be telling on themselves. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
even realize it. You know what I mean? And so you hear, you know, people like Faith Evans tell her side of the story. Then you got people like you that contradict that. And then you got other people
Absolutely.
who were credible people,
Right.
you know, are credible people who were there,
Right.
who are basically all saying the same thing. So I
Absolutely.
always use the same analogy with people. You got 100 motherfuckers in the room, right? You got
Right.
100 people in the room. 99 people are saying one thing. One person is saying the opposite thing. Who the fuck you gonna believe? You know what I'm saying?
You're the
I
one
mean,
of
you're
the
gonna go with the
99.
right, the
Right.
majority of the people, right?
Right.
Because it's just so that's like kind of like the situation is like you got all these people saying, "Oh no, yeah, they were there," and "Oh no, I saw her go to the room, and I saw them hugged up and all that." So it's
Absolutely.
like you know,
Right. Right.
so you know, and then I understand it though. I understand. We all understand why Faith Evans got to lie. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? She got to save face. She can't fucking admit that she went to go. You know what I'm saying? Get it in with Biggie's supposed enemy, but you know what I mean. So it's like you know, it's a lot of
Yeah.
lies, man. There's a lot of
Yeah.
lies going
It's a
on.
yeah. And I like I said, like you said, I understand too at that particular time. But it was this one. The crazy part was the one picture because how she mixed the timeline up in her book, right? It was the picture at the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party that basically exploded the whole thing. Because if you put it in your book that it happened a certain way, you would want to believe that what you're saying or the person who actually went through it, what they're saying is actually true. But that one,
Right.
this in particular picture right here, this picture right here was the one that let me know, okay, yeah, not only did they do it because Tupac, your brother actually told me, because like I said it, we were at the House of Blues, right? On August 11th, 1996. I'll never forget that night. Like I said, I talked about Kobe Bryant being there, just being traded from Charlotte, the whole thing, right? And so, so we get into the spot, and like I said, a couple of outlaws was with him. I'm not sure who, but they couldn't get in. Tupac had to give the security guy like $100 bills to let them in, like on the slide, right? Like, yo, they ain't old enough, so you can, let them in.
Okay.
And
right,
so we go upstairs and I asked your brother, I said, so yo, did you hit Faith that night that we was at the Hollywood Athletic Club? He was like, no, but I did the next night though. And so for most people who don't really understand that, Will, it wasn't a big thing for me to ask him that because we was there kicking it at the Hollywood Athletic Club. Remember, I told you when I met him in 93, this is the second time at the Hollywood Athletic Club because he was dealing with my homegirl back in Maryland. This is the second time. So he already know, like, okay, cool, how I was introduced to him. It wasn't like no dude, yo, I'm trying to be a rapper, here go my demo, that type of deal. It was through somebody personally that he knew. And so when we at the House of Blues, I asked him. He was like, no, but I did the next night though, because she actually had people with her in the convertible BMW. And that's what I try to tell people, like, yo, when Biggie wrote those lyrics in Hypnotize, dare I squeeze 3 at your cherry M3, bang every MC easily, busily. He's talking about that night because it got back to Biggie that same night. But because people seen him at the Hollywood Athletic Club. People seen like, yo, it was what it was. You know what I mean? And so from that perspective, he had told me, that he did. And it wasn't that big of a thing. Like a lot of people like to make it. Once again, like I said, if you're trying to sell, that's what I knew about Tupac. Just like you said, he was never one to really lie about anything, in regards to dealing with no woman, from what I understood in regards to her. And like I said, at the end of the day, when I saw the interaction, when she first rolled up, I could see it. And so another part about it was Tupac wanted to smoke a cigarette, right? And so we go through this side door at the Hollywood Athletic Club, right? We go to the side door. And so I don't think Faith, she knew where he was at, whatever. Yo, they come outside, they come out the front way and walk across the parking lot. But I think that she was really trying to figure out, like, yo, where did he go? You know what I mean? And Pac yelled out across the parking lot. He was like, yo, y'all leaving? And she was like, nah. He was like, because we about to go back to my hotel room. What y'all gonna do? And Faith said, we're gonna follow you. You know, so that for me, that was confirmation enough, other than what Tupac had told me, you know, for what had happened. So that's the reason why I asked you, being your brother, you know what I mean? What do you believe in that situation from that perspective? And like I said, you just, you know, commenting on that. So yeah, it's interesting.
And then not only that, for all the people who are doubting or believing, right? Doubting that.
Right.
That Pac and Faith got together, whatever, slept together, right?
Right.
If it didn't happen, why would Biggie be so fucking mad? Because from all accounts, Biggie was hot. Biggie was pissed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I done heard some shit that he done yoked her up or, you know what I'm saying, snatched her up because he was so mad.
Right.
Now, if Pac didn't hit, why would he be so mad? It wasn't from the song that she did, because she's getting paid for that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
no, hold on. The cold part about that is that she lied about that. They didn't even really. Yeah, she lied about that. She was like, "Yo, I was never in the studio." That's what I said. So I put that out there too.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So she lied about the fact that she even did a song. She was like, "Oh, it was a beat for these girls that I was working with, and so on and so forth." And Pac vocals was on there, and so I did it for that. But then, but hold on, the crazy part was, but then I did the video. I did the first video with Art of Dialogue. We did the video, and then we put out the interview with the dude Chuck Phillips, who interviewed Tupac as soon as he got out of jail. The cold part about it was Chuck Phillips actually recorded the interview, and the interview had her actually singing on the song "Wonder Why They Call You Bitch" in the booth. And so the question I say is, well, if it really didn't happen, why would you have to lie about these little
right? Why all the lying for?
Yeah,
why all the
lying
deceit
for? Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
why? The only reason people lie is because they're trying to not get caught, not get in trouble.
Right.
You know,
and I get it, huh?
Biggie said it also in one of his rhymes. What do he say? Some shit like, get it to Pac. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he's implying that she slept with Pac.
Absolutely.
You know
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
that was the joint. Brooklyn's Finest with Jay-Z.
Okay, right.
If she had kids, right. She probably have two Pacs. Get it? Two Pacs. Right.
Now why would he fucking say that if he didn't believe that Pac slept with? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
And the reason why he believed it, or probably believed it, is because there was so many people telling him. You know, there are people who were there.
Who were there? Like I said, but that night, listen to me. That night at the Hollywood Athletic Club, it got back to Biggie that night, because 2 days later, she said he was trying to call, and she flew back to New York because they were like, "Yo, Biggie hot. He heard about you out here kicking it with Tupac." You know what I'm saying? Right. And so, boom, she skedaddled back to New York, and then the cold part was this. Not only did she skedaddle back to New York, because I think that she was ultimately gonna make it happen. It was like, yo, we're gonna do the song, and then went back. He was staying at the Peninsula. Peep this though, Will, staying at the Peninsula. But then she came back to LA. She had to do the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack release party, and then that's where they got up again. And that's when he seen her again. That's the picture that I was saying, because she tried to make it seem like that first time was the last time that she saw Tupac, but what gave it away was that picture. And so, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
So I'm saying, people tell on themselves all the time, man.
Absolutely,
the truth comes out eventually.
Right. It's like you tell a lie and then you tell a truth in that lie, not knowing that you're telling the truth. You know.
Yeah, man.
And so, like I said, and so then we move on. So I gotta ask you this, on the strength of what it is. So Tupac, he releases "Hit 'Em Up." What do you think about that song? What do you think about that song ultimately? Is it the best? Is it the best diss song ever?
Oh yeah.
What do you feel?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know I think it's definitely one of the coldest. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
One of the cold. Because it's really Pac's verse that's like really so potent. I mean, the other guys on it, I can't think of the names on the top of my head right now. But the other outlaws that was on it, they was cool, you know what I'm saying? But Pac should have been on that shit the whole thing.
The
You know
whole
what I'm
way.
saying?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it should have just been him on it. You know what I'm saying? But I get it because he's always putting his peoples on and shit like
Right.
that. No, but
Right.
it was a dope song. Of course, I think it's one of the best diss tracks of all time. It's definitely up there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Definitely the coldest, the most vicious. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? The shit that was being said. You know, and you know, a lot of it was true.
A lot of yeah, yeah, and like that's what I try to say. I mean, Tupac, he rarely rapped about stuff that was kind of false, or
Right.
he would give you
Right.
the story. He will give you a fable. He will let you know that's what that was, but and he can also pull from somebody else's lifestyle and write a song too. It didn't
Right.
actually have to
Right.
be something that he was actually going through in the situation from that perspective. So
Right.
this other
Exactly.
question right here, um Keefe D. Keefe D. You know who Keefe D is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask you first and foremost, because there's a lot of theories. There's a lot of theories. And then, Keefe D actually mentioned Puffy's name in this theory also, but I have my own thoughts about that, but I'm gonna ask you. So who do you think killed your brother?
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack there. You
Right,
know, right? Because of the sheer number of people involved. You
right,
know what I'm saying? Um, that's a tough question, man. All these years, it's always been told that that dude, right, Orlando Anderson,
right,
right, was the trigger man, blah blah blah. Even had that cop who fucking like lost his job and dedicated the rest of his life to solving uh the Pac murder and shit
Oh,
like that.
you talking about Russell Poole?
Is that the white cop?
Yeah, Russell Poole, right.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, he was the only one, if I believe, who was like really investigating the shit hard like that. And his own police department wanted him to give that shit up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But
Absolutely.
so I mean, and he said it was the guy, Orlando Anderson. But then over the years, I've heard other stories, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like recently, uh somebody said well, you just hear stories over the years that it was somebody else. It wasn't actually Orlando Anderson, it was somebody else in the car. Well, let
Absolutely.
me just say this. Let me just say this. What I do know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And what I do know is that there was four dudes in that car. There was four cats in that car. Orlando Anderson, Keefe D, and two other characters that I've only heard their names like once or twice.
Right.
Right. But I know like the main players, Keefe D and Orlando Anderson, right? So anyway, that's what I know. I know that there was four individuals in that car, and one of them was responsible. One of them was the trigger man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I feel like over the years, honestly, it's gotten to a point where it's like it doesn't even matter anymore who specifically was. I'm more interested and intrigued about what led up to it. You know what I'm saying? All
Absolutely.
the things behind the scenes. Um, I mean, yeah, like I said, there's a lot to unpack, but if like if you want to rewind it, what led up to that, you know, it's everybody knows the fight, right?
Right.
Pac and everybody, whatever. I guess somebody put something in Pac's ear that, oh, there go the dude right there, right? Supposedly this nigga he snatched his chain, whatever, the weeks before, somebody in Pac's camp, some shit like that, right?
Right.
Tried to snatch his death row chain. The chain got snatched, it didn't get snatched, whatever. But that's the setup for it, right? That's the reason why somebody put that shit in Pac's ear, like, oh, yo, there you go, right there,
Right.
right? Which makes Pac take off, you know, which is another problem in itself because somebody should have been there to be like, to hold them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know.
So that's what. See, but now this is the thing, and I think that you're right on point when you say the things that led up to that, right? And so I go back to, and I just did a video recently about the security. The security.
Right, that's another thing.
Right. The head of security was this guy by the name of Reggie Wright. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard him or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen a couple of videos of him.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So now, so with that being said, most people didn't know up until recently, Yaki Gaddafi's mom, Miss Yasmin Fula, right? I think she lives either in Jersey or New York. She was part of Tupac's company called Euthanasia. She was running everything. I think she was kind of like the president or something like that. Okay. And like you said, Tupac had found out about the malfeasance going on with his money. He wanted his money, the royalties and things like that. And there was this altercation that he had in regards to that. And he wanted to get his masters out the studio. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. I've heard
he wanted to get his music. And the security guards stopped him from doing that. And Tupac was mad. So now what I get into is the fact that Tupac basically had fired Reggie Wright Jr. And so from that point on, I think it was a recipe for disaster, because first and foremost, Tupac is the biggest artist in the world. And when your main job is to secure him, right? He didn't, but he tried to make it seem as if he did. And even in New York, when they went to the MTV Music Awards, the security still worked for Death Row, but Tupac had fired them from being his personal security, right? But when you would still go to like Death Row functions, their job was still to cover him, right? So when you go to Vegas, I recently played the voice of Suge Knight basically saying that Tupac, he had called Reggie Wright Jr. and told Reggie Wright to send 5 more security guards, right? Reggie Wright Jr. never did that. He also said out of his own mouth, this is the guy who's ahead of Death Row. He also said that Reggie Wright Jr. had pulled the security off of Tupac that night. So it goes into what you're saying. It's what led up to it. That was the most important part for you. So what do you think about that? Like I say, Pac fired him, and I felt that there was some animosity there, if you will, you know?
Could have been, definitely. I wouldn't put it past nobody. You know what I'm saying? See, I didn't know those details. I didn't know that it was the Reggie White guy who was the head of security and who was the one that made the call to not have the security there. You know what I'm saying? But I knew, you know, over the years of seeing the documentaries and seeing the articles and reading and shit, I knew that there was something that went down. There was some kind of meeting that went down. And security was told to some shit like not bring their guns with them and, you know, all type of shit. And security not to be there. Basically have the night off, I guess, type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I always thought that was suspect. There's a lot of that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of suspect shit, man. That went down.
Stuff. Right.
A lot of suspect shit that went down that night. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So I got another question for you while you're there, because a lot of people, and what Suge saying, what he said in that interview that I played in the video prior, you know, people want to go back and listen to it. Do you think that Suge Knight had anything to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur, of your brother?
I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Okay, I'm gonna keep it real. Growing up, when I was little, when it first happened, you know, because Pac died when I was 11. I'm still a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I heard the same conspiracy things as everybody else. You know what I'm saying? That Suge was You hear all the story. As I've gotten older and I've, like I said, got a better understanding, you know what I'm saying, of certain details and this and that, I understand that Suge was a bad character. And like I said, he was stealing money from Pac and whatnot, not, you know, doing right business with them.
Right.
It's kind of hard for me to say that he had something to do with it because, I mean, he was in the car. It's hard. You know what I'm saying?
Right, to make that
Uh,
accusation. Right.
right. I mean, there's so many ways, so many other ways to get rid of somebody or to pull a hit on somebody. And especially at this particular time when I mean Suge Knight in all accounts is like at the top of his power. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Suge Knight at that time could have got anybody touched. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so to be in the car at the same time,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? That kind of is I never kind of like and then also I've never really seen or heard anything to make me kind of feel any different. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Um, people, I think people just are trying to connect dots because of the fact that they found out afterwards all the
Right.
shady dealings that he was doing,
Absolutely.
and then that, oh look, you see, he was doing them wrong, so he probably was the one that got him killed. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. So yeah,
um,
these the coincidences that don't really match up,
yeah,
you can
yeah,
use it. You can use it as a talking point, but it really doesn't add up. Like I said, me personally,
yeah,
I don't
right,
believe Suge Knight had nothing to do with that either. But like I said,
right,
once again, I do believe because Suge and Tupac was shot that night, I do believe that if the security was doing their job, like you said, there should have been somebody who was able to stop Tupac from even making that kind of move. That
right,
usually would
right,
have been
right,
security. There was,
right,
Tupac wasn't supposed to be even in the vicinity of anything like that. He was
right,
well way above that. And once again, so you go around the same thing that you were saying, sometimes, all company ain't good company, if you will, you know?
right,
So
right,
yeah,
exactly.
I totally agree with that. You know what I mean?
And
So
so, just like you said, I feel it's the same sentiment. Like, no, he probably wasn't directly involved. You know what I'm saying? To get Pac killed like that. But do I feel like being connected with Suge the way he was and as
right.
close as they got? I think that's what ultimately led to his death. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Absolutely.
said
Yeah,
before,
absolutely.
getting getting um getting immersed in that gang culture. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Um,
In the fight with
yeah,
Orlando. Yeah, in the fight with
yeah,
Orlando and all of that. That, like I said, once again, when you go back and we go back to New York, even with the situation involving the young lady and the accusations that she made, in regards to
right,
that were false. Something that led up to the ultimate coming under that death row umbrella, then ultimately led
right,
to, being in Vegas. Because, if not for that, the it's like the left turn, the right turn. And people like to say, well, if it was a fifth, I'd be drunk. If it would no, but we're talking about the actual things that actually happen, right? And
right,
that's how
right,
life goes. You know what I mean? There was nothing that anybody could have done that could have changed the trajectory of that night, what happened, how it happened, and so on and so forth. But I do
right,
believe if everybody was on their pivot and on their job, like I said, that was that totally was avoidable. But under the circumstances, it went down like it went down. So, yeah,
right.
yeah,
And then just to expand a little bit on that, that's why I said before, I kind of mentioned how that's the part, this is the part where I then started to get a little, I started to get a little mad at Pac, you know what I'm saying,
right,
at my brother, you know what I'm
absolutely,
saying? Because it's like, you should have known better. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Being that, being that you just got shot, you know what I'm saying? A year and some change ago, you
like
know what I'm
18
saying?
months ago, right, right,
Right,
absolutely,
you just got shot, nigga. Somebody just tried to take your life. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Um, you know you should have been, and if he was alive, of course, you would agree. He should have been moving better. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like I said,
absolutely,
he ain't got his bulletproof vest on.
right,
That from what I always heard in different accounts and stories from people who was around him that he always wore. You know what I'm saying? So it's just yeah, right. It's a lot of things that added up the perfect storm. You know
right,
what I'm saying?
right. No,
But
I
yeah,
totally agree with you, man, on that, and that's the most important part. So I just wanted to get that from you. You know what I mean? Like I said, yo, Will Garland Jr. in the building. You know what I mean? Yo, let the people know what you got going on, man.
Yeah, man. I've been working on music. I've been writing. I'm working on this mixtape with a brother I hooked up with my boy Nolo Black out
Okay.
in Toronto, Canada. You know, so
Right.
shout out to him. And just and I'm working on a video right now. I'm
Okay.
trying to do a video for a single I'm about to put out.
Right.
And so yeah, so I'm just trying to,
So
you
so
know,
so you so
just
your
keep
thing
busy and work.
so it runs in the family. I like that. I'm gonna have to shoot you another track, man. Like I said, I you know, let the people know I did something.
Word,
You know what I
word.
mean? But I'm gonna have to shoot you another track. And like I said, you
Definitely,
got
man.
he's a
Definitely.
skillful dude. You know what I mean? You know, up to par. And like I say, Tupac's brother, y'all. This is an exclusive interview of the brother Will Garland Jr. Like I said, yeah. So you would be Tupac's youngest brother, correct?
Right. I'm the youngest.
He's a
Yeah.
young. He was Tupac's youngest brother. Like I said, man, I appreciate having you on the platform. I definitely will have you back, and we're gonna continue this conversation. Like I
Definitely,
said, one
definitely,
love.
bro.
Tell your father I said hello, and hopefully, you know, we can try to get him on one, if not the other, a platform that we
Right,
talked about.
right,
And
right.
like I said, more importantly, take care of yourself, keep up the good work, and like I say, anything popping off, let me know. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Word.
and I'm gonna end it like I always end it. Yo, Will Garland Jr. in the house, in the building, hip hop, Monica name, Five Faces. Look out for him. More importantly,
All right,
and
bro.
yo, it's
Appreciate
your
you,
boy
man.
Del Rey. It's your boy Del Rey. Yeah, straight gang.